Hello friends. This is Sahasra Rapaka. I am studying 8th class from Care Model High School, Tilak Nagar, Hyderabad. I wish you a happy 75th Independence Day to all. That was 11:55 night in 1947 August. Central Hall of New Delhi. Jawaharlal Nehru along with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Babu Rajendra Prasad, Lord Mountbatten was entered and Nehru was started his speech to the gathering after 12:05 a.m. as at the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes which comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to new. When an age ends and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance, it is fitting that at the solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity. But it was not happened on one day or 1 month. On India's 75th Independence Day, let us take a look at the key events in India freedom movements. British rule in India began in 1857 when, following the British victory at the Battle of Plassey, the English East India Company began exercising control over the country. The East India Company ruled India for 100 years until it was replaced by direct British rule, often referred to as the British Raj, in the wake of the Indian Mutiny in 1857 to 1858. Early British colonialism in India. The first European to reach India was the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama, who reached Calicut in 1498 in search of spice. Just over a century later, the Dutch and English established trading outposts on the Indian subcontinent, with the first English trading post set up at Surat in 1613. Over the next 2 centuries, the British defeated the Portuguese and Dutch but remained in conflict with the French. The decline of the Mughal Empire in the first half of the 18th century allowed the British to establish a foothold in Indian politics. During the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company's Indian army defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Bengal, and the company established itself as a major player in Indian affairs. After the Battle of Buxar of 1764, it gained administrative rights over Bengal, Bihar and Midnapur, part of Odisha. After the defeat of Tipu Sultan, most of the southern India came either under the company's direct rule or under its indirect political control as part a princely state in a subsidiary alliance. The company subsequently seized control of regions ruled by the Maratha Empire after defeating them in a series of Anglo-Maratha War and over the Punjab after Anglo-Sikh Wars. The First War of India. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was a large rebellion in the northern and central India against the East India Company. The final spark was provided by the rumored use of tallow from cows and large pig fat in the newly introduced pattern 1853 Enfield rifle cartridges. Soldiers had to be bite the cartridges with their teeth before loading them into their rifles, ingesting the fat. This was sacrilegious to both Hindus and Muslims. Mangal Pandey was Sipahi who played a key part in the events immediately preceding the outbreak of the Indian Rebellion of 1857. His defense to his British superiors and later his execution ignited the fire for 1857 Indian Rebellion. On 10th May 1857, the Sipahis at Meerut broke rank and turned on their commanding officers, killing some of them. They reached Delhi on 11th May, set the company toll house on fire, and marched into the Red Fort, where they asked to Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah II to become their leader and reclaim his throne. Bahadur Shah II agreed and was proclaimed Shahanshah-e Hindustan by the rebels. The rebels also killed much of the Europeans, Eurasian and Christian population of the city. Revolts broke out in other parts of India as well, where civil rebellion followed the mutinies, leading to popular uprisings. In different places, different persons were led this revolt. Those are Nana Sahib Peshwa II, leading the soldiers in rebellion in Kanpur in 1857. Tantia Tope, leading the charge as the general of Nana Sahib Peshwa II at Kanpur in 1857. Begum Hazrat Mahal, defending at Lucknow in 1857. Veer Kunwar Singh, an 80-year-old warrior at Jagdishpur, present-day Bihar in 1857. Jhansi Lakshmi Bai at Gwalior in 1857. But the British mercilessly crushed this revolt and the British government took control of the company. Bahadur Shah was arrested and displaced to Rangoon jail, and there he died in 1862. The decades following the rebellion were a period of growing political awareness among Indian public and the emergence of Indian leadership at both national and provincial levels was happened. Dadabhai Nauroji formed the East India Association in 1867 and Surendranath Banerjee founded the Indian National Association in 1876. Inspired by a suggestion made by A.O. Hume, a retired Scottish civil servant, 72 Indian delegates met in Bombay in 1885 and founded the Indian National Congress. It became the leading party alongside the Muslim League and led the nation in the freedom struggle. Not only national associations, some religious groups such as the Arya Samaj, the Brahmo Samaj also played an important role in reforming Indian society. The work of men like Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, Sri Aurobindo, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Rabindranath Tagore and Dadabhai Nauroji and a Scottish sister Nivedita spread the passion of rejuvenation and freedom. The triumvirate, also known as Lal Bal Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, along with V.O. Chidambaram Pillai, Sri Aurobindo, Surendranath Banerjee and Rabindranath Tagore were some of the prominent leaders of movements in the early 20th century. In July 1905, Lord Curzon, the Viceroy and Governor General 1899 to 1905, ordered the partition of the province of Bengal. The stated aim was to improve administration. However, this was seen as an attempt to quench nationalistic sentiment through divide and rule. There was massive opposition from the people of Bengal. Initially, the partition plan was opposed through press campaign. All the Indians followed the boycott of British goods and the people of India pledged to use only Swadeshi goods and to wear only Indian cloth. At many places, public burnings of foreign cloth were organized. Shops selling foreign clothes were closed. According to Surendranath Banerjee, the Swadeshi movement changed to entire texture of our social and domestic life. The songs composed by Rabindranath Tagore, Rajnikanta Sen and Syed Abu Mohad became the moving spirit for the nationalists. The movement soon spread to the rest of the country and the partition of Bengal had to be firmly inhaled on the 1st April 1912. The All India Muslim League was founded by the All India Mohammedan Educational Conference at Decca, now in Dhaka, Bangladesh. In 1906, being a political party to secure the interest of the Muslim in British India. The Muslim League played a decisive role behind the creation of Pakistan in the Indian subcontinent. In 1911, India's capital shifted from Kolkata to Delhi. Gandhi arrives in India. Gandhi returned to India on 9th January 1915. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, a veteran congressman and Indian leader, became Gandhi's mentor. Gandhi's ideas and strategies of non-violent civil disobedience initially appeared impractical to some Indians and their Congress leaders. Gandhi had great respect of Lokmanya Tilak. His programs were all inspired by Tilak's Chatustri program. In 1917, Gandhi led an uprising of the farmers of Champaran who were being forced to grow indigo and were not even being compensated enough for it. In 1916, Muhammad Ali Jinnah joined the Indian National Congress, which was the largest Indian political organization. Like most of the Congress at the time, Jinnah did not favor outright self-rule, considering British influences on education, law, culture and industry as beneficial to India. Jinnah became a member of the 60-member Imperial Legislative Council. The council had no real power or authority and included a large number of unelected pro-Raj loyalists and Europeans. Nevertheless, Jinnah was instrumental in the passing of the Child Marriages Restraint Act, the Religious Endowments, and was appointed to the Sandrusht Committee, which helped establish the Indian Military Academy at Dehradun. During the First World War, Jinnah joined other Indian moderates in supporting the British war effort. The Rowlatt Act came into effect on 21st March 1919. In Punjab, the protest movement was very strong, and on 10th April, two leaders of the Congress, Dr. Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu, were arrested and taken secretly to Dharmashala. The army was called into Punjab, and on 13th April, people from neighboring villages gathered for Baisakhi Day celebrations and to protest against the deportation of two important countries, Indian leaders in Amritsar, which resulted in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 1919. In 1919, the British government had released an order banning public gatherings to punish civilians for their disobedience. However, unaware of this order, thousands of Indians gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar on April 13th to celebrate the festival of Baisakhi. Brigadier General Dyer called to troops and ordered them to open fire for 10 minutes at the mass gatherings. The troops had also blocked the main entrance so no one could flee. Many jumped in wells to save themselves. As per the official records of the British, 350 people died in the massacre, but Congress claims the number was as high as 1,000 people. It was this event that prompted the start of the non-cooperation movement. In 1920, Mahatma Gandhi took charge of Congress and started the non-cooperation movement. The movement was non-violent and saw people not buying British goods, supporting local artisans and handicrafts, and picketing alcohol shops. He went around the country explaining the tenets of the movement to the masses. The Kolkata session of the Congress in September 1920, Gandhi convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as for dominion status. The movement came to an end in 1922 when a protest at Chaura Chauri police station turned violent. By accepting the report of the Repressive Laws Committee, the British colonial government replaced the Rowlatt Act, the Press Act and 22 other laws in March 1922. Alluri Sitaramaraju. In the 1920s, Alluri Sitaramaraju led the ill-fated Rampa Rebellion of 1922 to 1924, during which a band of tribal leaders and other sympathizers fought against the British Raj. Local people referred to him as Manyam Virudu, hero of the jungles. Alluri Sitaramaraju started a protest movement in the border areas of the Godavari Agency, and he raided police stations in the around Chintapalli and Rampachodavaram. Alluri Sitaramaraju and his followers stole guns and ammunition and killed several British Indian Army officers. Alluri Sitaramaraju was eventually trapped by the British in the forest of Chintapalli, then tied to a tree and shot dead with the rifle. Gandhi was sentenced in 1922 to 6 years in prison but was released after serving 2. On his release from prison, he set up a Sabarmati ashram in Ahmedabad. On the banks of the river Sabarmati, he established the newspaper Young India. Inauguration, a series of reforms aimed at the socially disadvantaged within Hindu society, the rural poor and the untouchables. This era saw the emergence of a new generation of Indians from within a Congress party, including Maulana Azad, C. Rajagopalachari, Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose and others who would later on come to form the most prominent voices of the Indian self-rule movement, whether keeping within Gandhian values or, as in the case of Bose's Indian National Army, diverging from it. The Indian political spectrum was further broadened in the mid-1920s by the emergence of both moderate and militant parties such as the Swaraj Party, Hindu Mahasabha, Communist Party of India and the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Return of Subhash Chandra Bose to India. In 1921, Subhash Chandra Bose quit his high-paying ICS job in England to join India's struggle for independence. Shortly after his return, he joined the Congress. He started a newspaper titled Swaraj. He was sent to prison in 1925 and was released in 1927. Upon his release, he was made the president of the All India Youth Congress and the secretary of the Bengal State Congress. In 1930, he became the mayor of Calcutta. Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. Hindustan Socialist Republican Association HSRA was formed under the leadership of Chandrasekhar Azad, and radical philosophy revived in the 1930s when revolutionaries of the Samiti and the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association was involved in the Chittagong Armory raid and the Kakori conspiracy and other attempts against the administration in British India and British Raj officials. Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt threw a bomb inside the Central Legislative Assembly on 8 April 1929, protesting against the passage of the Public Safety Bill and the Trade Disputes Bill while raising slogans of Inquilab Zindabad. Bhagat Singh surrendered. Sukhdev and Rajguru were also arrested by police after the bombing incident. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were hanged in 1931. Purna Swaraj. On January 26, 1930, the Indian National Congress declared the independence of India, which the British did not recognize. The Dandi March of 1930, in an act of civil disobedience, Gandhiji took a crowd from the Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi Beach in a non-violent manner to protest against the repressive salt tax imposed by the British government. Government of India Act of 1935. The Government of India Act and the creation of a new constitution laid the foundations for the government events that would follow in the next decade and thereafter. India's entry into the war was strongly opposed by Subhash Chandra Bose, who had been elected president of Congress in 1938 and 1939, but later resigned owing to differences of opinion with Gandhi. After resignation, Bose then founded the All India Forward Bloc in 1940. The British authorities in Calcutta placed Bose under house arrest. However, he escaped and made his way through Afghanistan to Nazi Germany to seek Hitler and Mussolini help for raising an army to fight the British. In Japan, Bose formed the Azadi Hind government due to poor supplies from the Japan and lack of training, the Azad Hindu Fauj surrendered unconditionally to the British in Singapore in 1945. Subhash Chandra Bose's death occurred from third-degree burns on 18 August 1945 after his overloaded Japanese plane crashed in Japanese-ruled Formosa, now Taiwan. On 13th March 1940, Uddham Singh shot Michael O'Dwyer, the last political murder outside India, generally held responsible for the Amritsar massacre in London. Quit India Movement. The Quit India Movement, Bharat Chodo Andolan, or the August Movement, was a civil disobedience movement in India which commenced on 8 August 1942 in response to Gandhi's call for immediate self-rule by Indians and against sending Indians to World War II. In addition, Congress led the Quit India movement to demand the British to leave India and transfer the political power to a representative government. During the movement, Gandhi and his followers continued to use non-violence against British rule. This movement was where Gandhi gave his famous message, "Do or die," and his message spread toward the India community. On 3rd June 1947, Viscount Louis Mountbatten, the last British Governor-General of India, announced the partition of British India into India and Pakistan. With the speedy passage of the Indian Independence Act 1947 at 11:57 on 14th August 1947, Pakistan was declared a separate nation. Then at 12:02 am on 15th August 1947, India became a sovereign and democratic nation. Eventually, 15th August became Independence Day for India, marking the end of British India. Prime Minister Nehru and Deputy Prime Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had invited Mountbatten to continue as Governor General of India during the period of transition. Mountbatten was replaced in June 1948 by Chakravarti Rajagopalachari. Vallabhbhai Patel took on the responsibility for bringing 565 princely states into the Union of India, steering efforts by his iron fist in a velvet glove. Policies exemplified by the use of military force to integrate Junagadh and Hyderabad state into India, Operation Polo. On the other hand, Nehru kept the issue of Kashmir in his hands. The Constituent Assembly, headed by the prominent lawyer, reformer and Dalit leader B.R. Ambedkar, was tasked with creating the Constitution of Free India. The Constituent Assembly completed the work of drafting the Constituent on 26 November 1949. On 26 January 1950, the Republic of India was officially proclaimed. The Constituent Assembly elected Rajendra Prasad was the first President of India, taking over from Governor General Rajagopalachari. Thank you. Jai Hind.